Hi guys, Judy here. Just woke up. It's a beautiful morning. I got to sleep in and have a bit of a rest day yesterday. And I just want to say a few things regarding some questions people have had, and also regarding rapture, of course, because that's what my life is all about. God arrested me and arrested our life in 2013 and let us know He was coming, and this is my life has been rapture centric ever since. So two very significant things happened yesterday that I can't get into detail with because I just feel like when you have a relationship with somebody and there's certain things that are amazing but nobody else would get it, they just wouldn't understand. It's one of those, and so I just want to say, without saying what it is, that God gave me two very big, I call them flirts. I say the groom is flirting with the bride, and not in a human sense, but in a spiritual sense. And why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he do that? And he is. So I got two of those yesterday. They were huge. And this will segue into what I'm going to tell you next. The Lord has called me to walk a very narrow walk of faith. A very narrow path He has called me to take since 2013. And it takes a lot of faith. Now, that faith pleases Him. I'm very uncomfortable with it, but I've submitted to it, and I'm growing, and it's wonderful. Yesterday was one of those days where I woke up and I was like, Lord, I know You're coming, but until You get here, I think I need to start doing this because, let's just face it. If you're taking your time getting here, and You see what I've done for Your appearing, I gave it all up for Your appearing. Okay? I gave everything up You told me to give up for Your appearing. But I've got to run a household here. There's certain things I've got to do. This is just, and so there's a certain issue that I revisit with Him quite often, asking Him, do I have permission to do this, or can I do this? And He doesn't, He usually always lets me know, well, always, He says, no, I'm not giving you permission to do this, but I'm coming. Well, yesterday, He knew what I was thinking. He knew I was like, Lord, I know You're coming every day, but I've got these things facing my family. I'm, the sole provider here. Of course, You're our provider, but You caused me to be responsible in this way, and so I need to start doing this. And He completely gave me these two huge flirts that totally turned me in the other direction. I was like, okay, never mind. I won't be doing that. You're coming now. And I just can't get into them, you guys. It's just, when you have a relationship with the Lord, there'll be things He'll want you to talk about with others. And then there's those things where it's intimate, it's deep, and nobody would really get it. It's like an inside joke you have with someone, but, or it's just your thing that you have with a friend and nobody else would understand. Well, that's what these two major things were yesterday. I just want to encourage you that they were major, so I am not doing what I asked Him if I could do yesterday, because He's coming. Expect Him every day, every day. And when what you're doing in the spiritual realm completely defies human intellect, like what you need to do while you're on this earth, there's certain things you need to do to make life on this earth work. But every now and then, God will ask you to lay down those certain things. And it messes with your human intellect because you're like, well, wait, this doesn't make any sense. While I'm here, I need to do this and so. But if the Lord tells you to not address certain areas, if the Lord tells you, then you must obey. And that's what I'm talking about now. He has consistently told me certain things with regard to being on this earth, things that I've laid down that He does not want me to pick back up again. And He has to confirm it periodically because my human intellect struggles with it. It's like, Lord, but that's okay because we obey God. God told me a while back, it's okay that you are uncomfortable as long as you stay in obedience. You don't even have to like the position I put you in, but as long as you obey me, I am pleased. So, most of the situations in my life, I'm very happy, I'm comfortable with, that the Lord has put me in, but there are those situations that are big that He has me in that I have never been comfortable with since He fell on my son. But I do it out of my love and obedience for God. Okay, so I'm saying this because I know there are many of you out there who have laid down certain things and responsibilities for His appearing in your life, certain areas where God has called you to live a certain way and it's uncomfortable. But God says He's pleased with your obedience and keep it up. Okay, so I just want to say yesterday was a really big day. I was jumping out of my skin with joy and excitement. And it was just one of those things where I wasn't supposed to make a video on the specific details. But the Lord said I could tell you this much, that it was two huge things that let me know He's coming now, He's coming now. Okay, the next thing, and it was a way that only God could talk to me. And only God could let me know. And so my dog is so cute. Look at him. Somebody on YouTube asked me what it was that I gave up years ago that God, when I said I did nothing for almost 2 years, they wanted me to talk about that because they weren't here back in those days when I was making those videos. Are no longer here and stuff. So I told her I would, or him or her, I don't know, on YouTube. Excuse me, I'm looking out my window now, that I would answer that. And so I am. So when the Lord fell on my son in 2013, this is for you, YouTuber. I'm so happy to answer your question. When the Lord fell on my son in 2013, the Lord said to stop everything. He said it through my 10-year-old. And I looked in the mirror. I'll never forget it because we have a big, huge vanity mirror in the bedroom where my son was prophesying and preaching. And so he was in front of that mirror looking at me saying, Mom, God says quit your job, stop everything, He's coming. And so I was facing my son, but if I looked up just a bit, there was the mirror, big mirror. And I said, okay. So I stepped forward and my son stepped aside and I looked into the mirror and I said, God, is this really you? And I was looking into my eyes, talking to God. And I was just going, God, you've got to let me know because, I'm the sole income provider here. At the time, I was supporting 3 people. And the Lord is our provider, okay, always. But, He uses us to work sometimes He doesn't, to provide. And I like to work with my hands. I like my job. I like my life. So I looked in the mirror and I said, Lord, is this you? This would be crazy for me to do something like this. And He said, well, you can believe everything that's coming out of His mouth because it's me. And of course I knew that because that wasn't my son. That's not how my son behaved. My 10-year-old was like every 10-year-old, self-centered. They should be. They're all about their life and playing and their Xbox and their friends and their, kids are supposed to be egocentric, right? It's a very healthy stage that kids go through. And you should allow that, right? But the Lord fell on him and made him a prophet in one day. He was completely different when I came home from work. And so when someone asked me, when you say you did nothing for 2 years, what was it? I literally did nothing. I went from a type A cyclist where I rode in 100-mile centuries and I went on trips to Oregon, different places. I rode my bike with the cycling club. I was a very busy teacher, very busy in everything. I was just very, very busy teacher, single mom, type A, like I said, just athletic and yoga and all kinds of things, okay? And I went from that to 0%, nothing, waiting for the Lord. Out of obedience, I waited for Him. Now, it was hard to take someone like me who's always doing something and to just sit there, but it wasn't hard Because when the Lord falls that strongly on your house, you're just, it was just such a holy place at the time. We've since moved. But, I mean, it wasn't hard to do, but it was hard. I would struggle in my mind every now and then because I was like, I can't believe I'm just not doing anything. Like, I'm just sitting here waiting. Now, when I say we're sitting here waiting, we're hearing God. My son's preaching, prophesying. I mean, I'm taking care of household chores and duties, and I'm being slain by God as well. My son was completely overtaken, but God had me on the bed speaking to me, talking to me, just I was overcome with his presence. So, in a sense, when I say doing nothing, I mean, when I say that, I meant doing nothing in the world's eyes, but everything in God's eyes. The world would look at me and say, "You're insane. Get up off your bed, go out there and work." But the Lord said, I have things I want to reveal to you. If I would have gone back to work and not obeyed, I wouldn't have, God would have still loved me and he still would have done his thing. But I wouldn't have got the depth of what I have now. I wouldn't have received all that God had for me. God loves you, okay? He understood the struggle, but I took him up on it. I gave up everything for his appearing. I did all that. So, yeah, that's my little story. And that they wanted to know when I said I did nothing. I literally did nothing. I didn't cycle. He told me to give away my car. I didn't work. I lived off savings, but I gave most of it away. And then I lived by faith, and it was uncomfortable in that aspect. But it was okay. It was okay. I'm used to giving. I'm used to being the person that gives resources and blessings, and that's okay. God said, you're going to receive now. And I did. And somehow we made it because God's good. And then there was a time where I went back to work, not in my full capacity. I never have, and I won't. Okay, but I do ask him periodically, can I go back? But I work in a different capacity in my job. I have never gone back to. Anyway, because if the Lord's appearing, he's asked me to live a certain way, and I do, and I will, and I'll be obedient. And is it uncomfortable? Yes. Do I love it? I love him. I love being obedient. I love the reward of a faithful lifestyle. Do I always love my circumstances and how I'm living? No. Sometimes I'm like, I hate this. And he's like, I know. You don't have to love it. You just need to obey. There's some things I absolutely love. Okay? And I do love. But it's really not about what you love. It's about being obedient. And the Lord makes you happy. The joy of the Lord is my strength. My joy, my peace, my life is not dependent on my circumstances anyway. It's dependent on him. So it doesn't really matter. But being on the earth and in the earthly realm, some things are a little more challenging for me than other people, just because of how he's asked me to live until he gets here, and so it's okay. But I just wanted to explain because somebody asked me if I could explain. Basically, what I did for almost 2 years was listen to God, make videos, give his words. For many months, I didn't even make videos. I just waited for him in stillness and quietness. And in the waiting, I gained a lot of spiritual muscle. I got my identity 100% in him, not in what I was doing, not in my athletic abilities. I even let my body go, and I was someone that was very vigilant about my body and my health. I mean, I literally gave up everything for his appearing, and that was holy. For me, that was a holy act because God wanted to know, would I give it all up? And I did. Vanity, I mean, yeah, it's not good to be vain, but I just literally didn't even brush my hair for at least 6 months. I just let it all go. And those days were wonderful, and I'll never forget them, and they're still here, just in a different way.